In today's episode, I'm going to share my top travel sleep tips, whether you're traveling on vacation or the holidays, so you can get sleep even when you're on the go. Let's do this. In our most sleep-deprived moments, our children will teach us exactly what we need in order to learn and grow into who we were created to be. These are the loving lessons we will learn whether we were wanting to or not. I'm Irene Googe, your sleep coach, and I'm on mission to educate parents on how to help their young children sleep. Welcome to the journey. All right, in today's episode, I want to share 10 quick tips to help you travel well with your little one. All right, so before you go anywhere, it could be really helpful to establish nap and bedtime routines. When we have established sleep at home, it often will make it much easier to take that with us on the go. Our children actually can be pretty flexible and adaptable. And so by getting that established first can be really helpful. A lot of times when I'm working with my sleep coaching clients, they get a little nervous, a little bit anxious whether they should do this. And I tell them, you know what? When you have this in place, it's so much easier for children to do wherever they're at. And that leads me to step 2, where we're going to keep those bedtime rituals and recreate that sleep environment. Now, I'm going to dive into recreating the sleep environment in the next episode, packing and traveling with your little one to recreate the sleep environment when you're traveling. Those flexible routines where these are the things that your child knows what to expect, it makes it predictable and it helps them when they're out of their typical environment. The third thing that I encourage families to do is follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we're going to do what we do, but 20% of the time we might experiment. And this is the part where with the next tip that I'm going to share with you is to accommodate your child's temperament. Advocate for them when they can't, because sometimes we're going to be in situations where they may be overtired, overstimulated, and they may need some help. But by having some of these routines and rituals in place, it will actually help them be able to acclimate better. The other thing I'll share around accommodating our child's temperament, that sometimes the comforts of home, things that they're familiar with, actually can help them when they're overstimulated by a new environment, when they're overstimulated and uncertain of what's going on around them. So this is a great way to help build some of that trust and security and help them with that transition. The fifth thing you may try to do is to come back to your sleep space for naps. So do what you can to help fill the sleep tank, and that might mean napping on the go. Getting some sleep is better than no sleep, so your child doesn't become overtired and miserable. But if possible, come on back to that sleep space. Sixth tip is to plan for earlier bedtime. Earlier bedtimes are also helpful because sometimes what we don't realize is that when we're on the go and doing so many things, we're busier than normal. So our child actually can be a little bit more tired, a little more overstimulated, so they may be ready for bed a little bit earlier. So it's going to be a fine balance for you to figure out like that just right bedtime. You'll know once you have that sleep established in your home what your child can and can't handle. I will share with you that I had a child that was totally fine. We could travel, was flexible. We'd come home and he could reset. My other son, not so much. So it is a little bit of an experiment that you'll be doing with your child. My tip for you is to be patient and kind with yourself, with your child, and your loved ones all around you. Sometimes we don't realize how stressful travel can be with our family. And so being able to do some deep breathing, keeping calm and confident as we're leading through the day can be helpful. And this is where having those flexible routines in place can be super helpful no matter where you're at. The next tip is to maybe plan to come back 1 or 2 days earlier if you're gone for a long trip to reestablish and reset at home. That can give everybody a chance to fall back into the rhythms and routines. One of the things that I have seen is that even sometimes when you travel and sleep maybe isn't going as well as you expected, Doing what works is best. When you come home, that will give you a chance to reset, and I see children do really well and be very successful with that. And as a side note, if you have an older child and maybe you were room sharing or they were sleeping with you, I oftentimes would remind my little one that this is a special treat when we go over to Mom and Pop-Pop's house. But when we get home, we're going to go back into our sleep space. And so that's a great way to handle that, even if that is the sleep accommodation. And we'll dive into that in the next episode. The last tip that I would share with you is try to stick to your child's typical schedule and routine as much as you can without sacrificing all the fun on your trip. This is the part where it gets a little bit tricky. We'll see where we can push our little ones, where we need to pull back a little bit. Sometimes being mindful of what are we doing? How much stimulation is there can be a little bit tricky for our little ones. And one of the things that I find is not to become afraid. A lot of times parents will become overwhelmed and afraid, and they're just becoming very fearful before they travel. So I'll encourage you to figure out, how are you staying calm and confident as you're leading your little one through this travel experience so that they can learn to love and enjoy travel, especially if that's a part of your lifestyle and that's something that you and your family do. So I hope these general sleep tips help you get sleep even when you're on the go. Take a moment and share this with a friend that might be traveling with a little one so they can be prepared. Thanks for tuning into today's show. You can see all of the details and show notes below. And as you go out into your day, I hope that you'll make it your mission to be calm, confident, and rested as you lead today. Sweet dreams.